This is a unique show that we're going to do today because I don't remember ever talking about a show outside of the WWE where we're then saying sold out. And it's been a while since you've been able to say that about any type of wrestling show outside the confines of the WWE.
Man, this reminds me of a punk rock act from back in the day who just hit overnight and has got the whole industry buzzing. Yesterday, tickets went on sale for All In, and I remember I was sitting with a couple of guys yesterday, and I said, if they sell 5,000 tickets, it's a victory because, selling out half the arena, would be a huge step for them. And then to hear the news that in 30 minutes they completely sold out the Allstate Arena. I don't know the right words. I don't want to use phenomenal or amazing or any of that. But I can't find any better words to truly describe how big this really is. I mean, 3 guys, 3 renegades, 3 rebels got together and are putting on a pro wrestling event where they sold out 10,000 tickets in 30 minutes. Who else has done that other than the WWE? Not ECW, not TNA, not any other major promotion. So how did 3 guys get together and pull this off? It really is amazing, Dave.
Yeah, and like you said, 10,000 seats at the Sears Center, and this is a big deal. And this is something that we've talked about, and you're right. You mentioned about it would be a success if they could sell 5,000 tickets. And that really, making that comment, Bully, to me seems more reality-based and reasonable. Because think about it, when you look outside the world of the WWE, when do a lot of companies do well? It's WrestleMania weekend. When you know that the entire fan base, all those fans that bought tickets for WrestleMania are going to be in the same area at the same time. And that's when you see a lot of these organizations do very, very well. Here's a standalone show when there's nothing else going on in the pro wrestling world. So, yeah, you know what? Saying like 4,000 or 5,000 fans sounds like a lot if you consider, what this is and what's around this. But to sell it out, and like you said, to sell it out in under 30 minutes, think about that. This was sold out in under 30 minutes. Most bands that are mainstream bands can't do that in a 10,000 seat arena. Listen, there's a lot of WWE live events that don't come close to getting 10,000 fans in an arena. For Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks to do this this can change the landscape on how we look at the world of pro wrestling. I really do believe that.
And think about this. What have they announced for the show? I mean, we know we're getting Cody versus Nick Aldis for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, with obviously in itself is cool because we have a Rhodes challenging for the NWA Championship. The story is there. Dusty being a former champion, one of his children trying to reclaim the championship that that dad was synonymous with. But what else do we have on the show? We have the Bucks, but we don't know who they're wrestling.
Nope.
And then we have Rey Mysterio, and we don't know who he's wrestling, correct?
Nope.
So we have one match plus the Bucks plus Rey Mysterio, and that in itself, that alone, sold out 10,000 seats. Like we're saying, Dave, that's rock and roll right there. It's a big deal. And if you don't think every single person in the wrestling industry across the entire planet isn't taking up and noticing this, you're wrong, buddy.
No,
this is on everybody's radar this morning.
I agree. And this reminds me when I was a kid and was first getting into Metallica, and you never saw Metallica on MTV, and you never heard them on the radio, yet they were able to do big things in big places. This is the same thing here. I mean, this isn't part of the WWE machine. And honestly, if you look at the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes and what they're doing and their association with Ring of Honor and New Japan, this isn't like your family, PG pro wrestling either. This has got a little edge to it. This is selling to a certain demographic when it comes to a wrestling fan, which again shows you how healthy this business is, Bully, outside of the WWE.
And I believe that this is another crack in the wall. Remember how I talked about Cody being able to succeed outside of the WWE is a crack in the wall. The Bucks being able to be this monsterly over tag team despite never being a part of the machine is a crack in the wall. Kenny Omega, which might be the biggest name on the planet right now, never being in the WWE is another crack in the wall. And now these guys get together to put on an event that rivals WWE numbers. I mean, would it have been... Listen, they sold out 10,000 seats. Maybe they should have brought it to a bigger arena.
Yeah.
How crazy does that sound?
It's crazy. I mean, I'm glad that they did the 10,000 seat arena. I'm glad that they did that because you know what? It's better to be sold out and people knocking down the door than have a few empty seats. But you're right. They could have probably had this in a 15 to 20,000 seat arena. Think about that. And you want to know something, Bully? I don't think this has anything to do with Kenny Omega or Okada or the Young Bucks or Cody. All wrestlers that are going to be a part of this show. I think this is a stance by the pro wrestling fans saying, you know what? We want something different. And I think this is their way of shouting out to the masses that, you know what, there's enough of us to make this grow and make this even bigger. And you know what, maybe we don't want certain things shoved down our throat. Maybe we're sick of a certain PG product, and this is our way of showing it.
And based on what you just said, Dave, the first thing that pops into my mind is ECW in 1994 and 1995. Because it was this renegade rebel movement doing something completely different than what mainstream wrestling was feeding the fans. And this has the potential to be that. It's already bigger than that when you look at it from a single show, because I think the biggest audience ECW ever did was like 6,000 people. Mm-hmm. All In has blown that out of the water already. So when you compare it to something else that was rebellious, because I don't know if Cody and the Bucks are necessarily rebellious, but they're out there to prove a point. And I believe the underlining tone of their point is, we don't need the WWE to succeed.
And who better poster children than to make that statement than the Bucks and Cody Rhodes? And so different. When you look at the Bucks and Cody Rhodes, the Bucks been able to do it on their own, their way for so long. And then Cody being a part of the WWE machine, having, Dusty Rhodes as his father and having that legacy behind him and saying, you know what, enough is enough. And I'm going to do this on my own. You're right about those cracks. And there's so many layers to what we're going to be talking about with All In. And I think a lot of those cracks are showing a lot of wrestlers who may not be satisfied being a part of WWE roster where, hey, you know what? I can go someplace else because I'm going to work my ass off and show that I can do it and succeed and make a living doing it outside the confines of the WWE.
I've been saying for years that there's this black cloud of fear that looms over wrestlers' heads where they never want to get heat. They never want to ruin their chances with the WWE. They don't want to do anything wrong. They don't want to say anything wrong. This All In is like a ray of sunshine coming through that black cloud. Because at the end of the day, even though the WWE might be the company, it's not the be all and end it all when it comes to places to work. There are other opportunities and other promotions out there, whether that is a TNA, a Ring of Honor, a New Japan, but who knows? After September 1st, All In could become its own entity. I mean, I don't think it's going to become its own promotion. Maybe it becomes a yearly event, but it's just another ray of hope for every other wrestler out there that there are other places to go. And this is what wrestling needs. Pro wrestling has always been at its best when there's options. Mm-hmm. And All In is presenting another crack in the wall for more options for the wrestlers, but more importantly, for the fans.
Yeah, and you talk about the last time that pro wrestling's been able to do this outside of the WWE. You're looking at 20 years ago. You're looking at like the heyday of WCW when you can look at another promotion that could sell this type of tickets and fill up this type of a building. Think about that. You know, a lot of wrestling fans, a lot of fans that are listening to our show right now, Bully, weren't even alive the last time a company outside of the WWE was to sell this amount of tickets. Think about that. When I talk about changing the landscape, again, so many layers, so many cracks, but think about being a part of this event and over 10,000 people and an event that's sold out in less than 30 minutes and it doesn't have that WWE machine behind it.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if Cody had that moment when he was alone by himself, just sitting there and kind of maybe talking to his dad. And yeah. I'm sure, I'm not sure, I'm positive that the American Dream is looking down on Cody with a giant smile on his face. Because Dusty created so many great things back in the day for the NWA. And now Cody has been able to create something for the new generation of pro wrestler and pro wrestling fan. Something that is going to be as immediately successful as anything his dad created. Wow. All In. I mean, when you have something like this that sells out 10,000 seats from Jump Street the very first time you do it. I mean, I know we're looking really far into the future here, but can't you see All In becoming a yearly event?
Yeah, and this is why this show on September 1st needs to be great. If you're going to have a follow-up, then it needs to be great. You don't have a sequel to the movie if the movie bombs. And this is the biggest obstacle, I think, Bully, when it comes to how many people are actually going to buy a ticket. I think putting this card together is going to almost be a labor of love, where really the biggest obstacle is what happened yesterday at 4 o'clock when this sold out in less than 30 minutes.
What I hope they do, this is just my opinion, is I hope they give you a great cross-section of all things wrestling. You know, not just the same type of matches from the same type of guys. I hope they give us, listen, Cody versus Nick to me is a big deal, obviously, for the NWA Championship. Ray being on the show is a big deal. But I want to see a variety of pro wrestling. I think there's the potential to walk away from All In saying that was the greatest pro wrestling show of all time, despite the fact that not one WWE guy will be on it.
It's crazy. It really is. And, you know, you just saying it gave me goosebumps. Imagine Cody, you know, becoming NWA champion at All In. I mean, you know, imagine like a Rhodes once again holding on to that NWA championship title. I mean, as a wrestling fan, that's got to give you goosebumps.
If I'm Billy Corgan as the owner of the NWA, I know he's very proud of Nick Aldis as his champion right now. I know we've had Nick on the show. I think Nick has been doing a much better job than anybody else representing that 10 pounds of gold. But if I'm Billy Corgan, I think I'm saying a prayer. I'm hoping that Cody Rhodes becomes the NWA champion, because overnight that gives the NWA the rub that they need. Because, I mean, come on, let's be honest. The NWA for years has been, as Matt Hardy would say, obsolete.
Yeah, it really has.
I mean, Billy has just been able to breathe some life in it over the past couple of months since he took ownership, and now with Nick as the champion doing a little bit more things here and there. But if on September 2nd, if Cody Rhodes is walking around as the NWA champion, don't you think that gives them a significant amount of credibility?
Of course. And we talk about All In and the growth of wrestling outside of the WWE and what this means, having something successful outside of the WWE. You just brought up something, too, that's a huge story with what's going to happen on September 1st, and that's the road of redemption for the NWA and that NWA championship. Think about it. When's the last time that NWA championship has been defended in front of this many fans? You're going to have to go back, again, maybe more than 20 years for the NWA title to be defended in this amount of seats and this amount of fans, something significant like All-In event. It's been a long road for the NWA.
Do you agree with the Billy comment, though?
Yes.
Do you think that he wants Cody to win?
Yes. Yes, because think of the story, and nothing again. Like you said, Nick Aldis has been a tremendous champion. He deserves a lot of credit for some sort of prestige to get back to the NWA title. Billy Corgan too, but to have a Rhodes hold on to that NWA championship would be huge. Huge.
And I just fed you that question, Dave, for a very specific reason, and I'm so glad you said one word in your answer, and that one word was story. What a story. And that's what wrestling needs, stories. And what better story than the road to redemption for Cody? Not that Cody really needs redemption. I mean, he was the Ring of Honor champion, lost the Ring of Honor championship to Dalton Castle, but now to be able to set his sights on the NWA championship, regain the championship that his father once held, regain the championship that his father fought Ric Flair for, regain what it could be. It's one of the most prestigious championships out there. It's lost a lot of luster over the years, but if that championship goes on Cody's waist, overnight, the NWA championship means something again.